How was money discussed in your home growing up?
So we didn't like the only thing I knew is like there's not enough. Like we don't have that.
Mm.
You can't ask us for stuff because we don't have that. And so I like started talking to my siblings about them, like about money. I would show them like my net worth. I'm like, "Oh, look, I've been investing. This is how much money I have." And my family before that, they didn't really take me seriously. They're like, "Oh, whatever. She's just going on and on." Yeah, so I showed them my portfolio and they're like, "Oh, how do you do it?" And I was like, well, I just started investing and I was consistent and that's how I was able to build wealth. And then after showing them my portfolio, like they're like, oh, can you teach me? And so I was like, yeah, I can teach you because I'm a big time money nerd. I love talking about this stuff.
Welcome to the Chingona Revolution podcast, where we will bring out your inner badass Latina, overcome self-doubt, help you gain clarity, and pave your own path, all while leading with courage. I am your host, Latina coach and speaker, Erica Cruz. Hi, and welcome back to Chingona Revolution podcast. I am your host, Erica Cruz. I'm a Latina coach and speaker. And on this show, we teach you how to become your most chingona, badass, and most courageous self. And on the theme of courage, I have an amazing guest who is one of my former clients. And I feel like when I met this individual, it was like a little caterpillar was there. And then by the time she left, she was like a full blown butterfly. And now she's just like thriving. She has like a butterfly empire. Sunem, welcome to Chingona Revolution. Can you tell us who you are and what you do?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. So, my name is Sunem. I am a first gen Latina. I am an introvert and I work remotely, but I am in my soft girl era, my rest girl era.
Love it.
But I'm also a financial educator, a podcaster who helps other first gen take control of their finances and use money to live life on their own terms.
Love it. Damn, did you ever think, what was it, 2 years ago that we met and started working together? Did you think that you would be sitting here right now giving us that introduction?
No, I wouldn't have. I wouldn't even know what to say because I was so like shy back then. Because I am an introvert, and while like a lot of people think that being an introvert means that you don't have things to say, we do. We're just shy. But yeah, like it has really taken me a lot of courage to be here and even to say yes to you. And I don't think I would have said that 2 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. So we are here in person in a studio in Nashville, which is your hometown
Hmm.
or where you live. I don't know if it's your hometown. I
I
actually
mean,
don't know.
kind of. I grew up in LA, but relocated to Nashville when I was 14.
That's right. I remember this now. I remember this. Yeah. So this is a very different experience than just saying yes to an audio only podcast or even a video podcast where you are in your home and in your space. We're in a space where, I mean, we don't really even know where we are. I mean, I don't know where I
Me
am,
neither.
right? So I want to talk about when we first crossed paths, you had certain beliefs and certain mindsets. Tell us what those were.
Yeah, so before joining Courage Driven Latina, I had a lot of imposter syndrome and I didn't trust myself because I remember that I was starting my coaching business with my brother and I really didn't. I was like, who am I to be teaching people how to manage their money? Which was crazy because I literally have a master's in finance.
I was going to be like, who are you? Please tell us.
And I have like learned how to invest myself. Like I read so much personal finance books, and this is even the reason why I took myself to get a master's degree in finance because I was like, I feel like I need to learn more, but they didn't really teach me this in school. It was so different. But yeah, so I taught myself how to invest. I built wealth, and I like taught all my family how to invest. In fact, like all of them are investing. And so I was like, I don't know why I had that belief, but I really did have that belief when I joined before joining your program.
Okay, so you tell me about. I want to go back to this moment where to that what you just said that you have helped your entire family to invest. You've helped them begin investing. What was that like? Are you the eldest daughter?
No, I'm not. So I'm actually I'm the youngest daughter because my sister, she's the eldest. Me and my brother who started this business, we're the youngest. which is weird.
Yeah.
But because like I always liked learning about numbers, like I was really good at math, and so when I started like learning about personal finance because I was in debt. So that's what I started learning because I remember coming out of college and like getting student loans, even though I didn't really need them because I did get a full ride to college. But I saw my older brothers like getting student loans to live like their life. And so I was like, I think I need to do that too. And so I came out of school with like $16,000 of student debt and then also like right away purchase a car because that's what you're supposed to do after like you find a job. You're like, okay, buy yourself a brand new car. That's what my family was telling me. And so I had $42,000 of debt. And during this time, I wasn't really making a lot of money because I went to school and got a psychology degree. And unfortunately, that does not make you a lot of money, even though it should.
Yeah.
But I quickly realized that I was like, I'm making so much, and all my money was going to like paying off debt. And so I was like, something needs to change. And so I started getting into personal finance. I became debt free like in the end of 2019, but then I learned about like investing and the power of investing and building wealth, especially like as a first gen, like we're not taught this. And so I started like investing and I built like six figures in 20, and then from there on like I taught my family because you know how like in our community we don't really talk about money. It's like taboo. Like
Yeah. How was money discussed in your home growing up?
so we didn't like the only thing I knew is like it's there's not enough. Like we don't have that.
Mm.
You can't ask us for stuff because we don't have that. And so I like started talking to my siblings about them, like about money. I would show them like my net worth. I'm like, "Oh, look, I've been investing. This is how much money I have." And my family before that, they didn't really take me seriously. They're like, "Oh, whatever. She's just going on and on about like
This is why I asked that question because I had a feeling that you had to consistently advocate for yourself. So, this is to your point, even if you're introverted, that doesn't mean that you don't have something important to say or something valuable to bring to the table. So, you then took it into your own hands and were like, okay, well, I know this can help my family, but they have to kind of see it to believe it. So,
mhm.
you began to show them your portfolio.
Yeah, so I showed them my portfolio and they're like, "Oh, how do you do it?" And I was like, "Well, I just started investing and I was consistent and that's how I was able to build wealth." And then after showing them my portfolio, like they're like, "Oh, can you teach me?" And so I was like, "Yeah, I can teach you because I'm a big time money nerd. I love talking about this stuff. Even though I'm an introvert, that's the only topic like you won't get me to shut up about."
I love it.
And so I was like, I taught them how to invest. And now, like, my brother, who I have a business with, he has over six figures invested in the stock market. Our older brother has six figures. My older sister just reached six figures invested in the stock
Amazing.
market. And so, yeah, it's amazing to build wealth, not only for yourself, but like, as Latinos, like, we're really community oriented. So, like,
Yeah.
building wealth as a family and knowing that, well, all of you guys are building wealth together is amazing.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love it. You're changing that money narrative. So now in your household or within your family dynamics, the narrative before was there's not enough. What's the narrative now?
Yeah, now the narrative is like, okay, we have this wealth. How can we change our life for to live a life that we like now? And that's why like this is what we teach to our clients too. Like money is so powerful because we do live under a capitalistic society
We
where
do.
money controls everything. Money gives you so much option. So like the more wealth you build, the more options you're giving yourself, not only in your career but also in your life, like where you want to live, what you want to do, like how long you want to travel, how
Yeah.
long you want to work, so all of that.
Yes. Oh man, I couldn't agree more. And at what point did in this money journey, because I feel like we went through your money story, but at what point did our paths cross?
Yeah, so our paths crossed like in I think I attended an event by that Yo Quiero Dinero.
Hmm.
Her name is the host of Yo Quiero Dinero podcast, Denise. She did an event with you, Manifiesta. And so I attended that one because I really liked her podcast. And so I remember that I listened to your story and it was in 2021. I had already reached a six-figure net worth. I was actually asking myself so many questions during this time because in 2020 I went through a really bad anxiety episode because I do suffer from anxiety disorder. And so I normally like I'm able to manage it because of the pandemic and because I was hustling so much in 2019 trying to get my master's, working full time and having a side hustle. I really went through it. And so in 2021 when I finally felt better, I was like asking myself like how can I change my life for the better? And so I really found your story so inspirational because you said like you don't have to live the way your family wants you to live. You can live a different life. You can be courageous. And so I was like, oh, I want to invest in the program. But I still was so
But you had
scared.
money thoughts about it.
Yes. So I had a lot of money scarcity issues because, like a child of immigrants, sometimes we tend to have like money wounds, like that can develop like money scarcity, which can be like you either become an overspender because your parents didn't give you all this materialistic thing, so now you want to buy them yourself, or you can become a hoarder. You think like your money's gonna go away, and so you just spend, like you just invest or like save all your money, which is what I was doing.
Yeah.
And so even though I had the money to invest in your core, like in your program, like I felt like I didn't.
Yeah.
And so I really had to work through this to be able to say like, no, like I need to invest in myself. And I think this was the first time that I like literally invested in myself besides therapy because, you know, for me, therapy was a need. I really needed it. And I really had to let go of this DIY mindset that a lot of us develop because we're really not modeled to invest in ourselves. Like
Right.
our parents are in survival mode. They don't have the means to invest in themselves. And so they're like, no, I'm going to learn it and do it myself.
Mm-hmm.
And we're taught this, like, because our parents didn't have the means, but we're different. Like we have the means. Our
Yeah.
parents came here and now they want us to thrive. And in order to do that, you need to invest in yourself, which I didn't know that now, but now I'm a big believer in investing in yourself. And so when I went through this mindset, like I think in 2022, I decided to finally do it. And so that's when our paths crossed. Like I think it was like the beginning of 2022.
Yes, I believe so. It was spring of 2022 because I was looking at your entry survey before we did this interview and it was spring 2022. So I want to go back to something that you mentioned earlier and then we'll come back to when our paths crossed. You talked about having imposter syndrome. And for those of you who are listening and maybe have never heard the term imposter syndrome or you don't know exactly what it means feeling self doubt or inadequacy despite having evidence of success, right? So this could be like getting promoted at your job, but then doubting that you deserve the promotion, even though your name's on the promotion. Or for you, having your master's degree, but still doubting if you can help people. And I just think it's so interesting that you were already coaching your family members. Like they were your first clients, right? And you had already started your side hustle with your brother, which at the time was very different. We'll talk about the evolution of that as well. And then when you come into the program, one of the questions that I had asked you is what is it that you are looking for support with? And you said self-doubt has prevented me from trying new things such as applying for new jobs, making friends, or going all in on my business. So that is how Sunem came into the program. Tell me what happened there. What happened with the imposter syndrome that you felt? What happened with your business? Just tell us what happened.
Yeah, so I remember in 2021, I was like, I don't really like my life. And I realized that I really wanted to change jobs because I'm like, I think I hate my job. I don't like it. And then I started like looking online because something about me was that I always wanted to travel. And so I was
Mhm.
like, I want a remote job because I know it's going to allow me to travel. And so I started like looking for remote jobs. And then I was like, wait a minute, what if I like negotiate with my employer to be able to work remotely? And so I did it. I did it first of all because I did have six figures invested in the stock market, which obviously gives you like some sort of confidence. I have a financial
Yes.
foundation that like, you know, I'm good. And I knew that I had an emergency fund too that like if they said no, it's okay. I can just work a few months and then like quit and then look for a different job. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. But I was scared because nobody had ever worked remotely in my company. I was the first one.
Oh my goodness.
And so they came back and they're like, yeah, you can do it. And I was so happy. But when I joined your program, like I had just started working remotely, so I still felt like I hated my job. I was like, I don't think I
Mm-hmm.
like my job. And I realized that no, it was just like the office dynamics that I hated, because I didn't like to drive 40 minutes to my job and then 40 minutes back and then be in an office.
Where
And
you're
so,
an introvert and you don't want to have small talk with
yeah.
people.
Exactly. And so when I started working remotely after a while, I was like, oh, I love this. Like, I can travel whenever I want to. I can be in a different city tomorrow. And that was really helpful in like helping me know that I just like remote work, and that's
Yeah.
what I want moving forward. But also, like, when I applied to your program, it was because I really wanted community too. Not only working on my mindset, but because I did grow up in Nashville, and now Nashville's like a bigger city, but back then it was like a really small city. There was not a lot of Latinas. I think I was like the only Latinas in all my high school classes.
Oh my goodness.
Because there was Latinos, but like not as much as there are now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, when I moved to Nashville, I became extra introverted, because when I was in LA, I had already made friends. I
Right.
went to a middle school that also was a high school, so I was like, I'm gonna be friends with them until I graduate, and then I moved here, and so that really like impacted me, and then I was like, I really want to build a community.
Yeah.
And so that's why I joined Courage Driven Latina. But it took me a minute, because I'm like, it's group coaching. I don't know if I'm going to be comfortable like talking to strangers on the internet. And
That's a valid concern.
yeah,
Yeah. So what happened?
but I joined, and it's amazing. Like, it was amazing. I loved it so much. I was able to make so many new friends, and I made a friend through like the program, which we even traveled together. Every time like I go to events, I meet someone from the program, and we connect all the time, because like people who are part of like Courage Driven Latina, like we have the same values.
Yeah.
And so it's really easy to make friends with them. And so I really like that. And I really feel like now I have friends everywhere. Like, I have friends in California, I have friends in New York City, I have friends in Texas because of the program.
I hope you are enjoying this incredible episode with Sunem. I wanted to hop on and remind you that we have Courage Week going on. Courage Week is a week of courage coaching where you can come and see what it's like to be coached by me, Erica, as well as meet other people who are also looking to build courage in their lives. It is a 4-day event. It's happening February 12th, which is a Monday, all the way through Thursday, February 15th. It's happening from 3 to 4 p.m. Pacific time every day of those 4 days. I'm so excited about Courage Week because it is an opportunity for you to see what it's like to be coached by me, but it's also an opportunity to see what it's like to be inside of a program like Courage Driven Latina. The new updated videos and curriculum for Courage Driven Latina, I'm just so incredibly excited about them because now we have 4 different courage project paths that you can take. The first one is confidence. The second one is content creation. The third one is career. And the last one is Chingona CEO. So every day of Courage Week, there will be a training focused on a courage project path. So on Monday, we're talking about confidence. On Tuesday, we're talking about content creation. On Wednesday, we're talking about career. And on Thursday, we are talking about Chingona CEO. I invite you to attend live every single day, every day that you can make it, because after these trainings, we are going to go into general courage coaching. So you could come and get coached on anything that you're struggling with. Courage Week is completely free. It is sponsored by my group program, Courage Driven Latina, and the doors also open for Courage Driven Latina the first day of Courage Week. So when you come to Courage Week and then sign up for Courage Driven Latina, we have a special bonus. We actually have 2 special bonuses, so make sure that you come on the first day so you can find out what those bonuses are, because I don't want you to miss out. Also, last but not least, Sunem did tell me that if you have any questions about the program, about her experience inside of Courage Driven Latina, reach out to her. Her info is down below in the show notes, so you can always ask her any questions that you may have, and you're always welcome to book a consult call with me if you'd like, or you can secure your spot once we open doors. So just a quick reminder, Courage Week is Monday, February 12th through Thursday, February 15th. And on the 12th, the first day of Courage Week, we're opening the doors for Courage Driven Latina. This program is in high demand. We have over 1,000 people on the wait list, so do not delay. If this is something that you want to do, ensure that you join Courage Week. Ask any questions that you may have, and I cannot wait to work with you. The doors for Courage Driven Latina do close on February 21st. So don't wait. If you know this is something that you want to do, I invite you to lead with courage, attend Courage Week, and sign up for the program. Yeah, I feel the same way. I mean, even though you're all my clients, it doesn't matter what city I'm in, somebody I know is there. And it's almost like we all speak this common language. We just get each other. And what I have found is that sometimes people in the program get to know you on such a deep level, even more than your childhood friends, even more than some of your family members, because our family members see us for who we were when we were kids. But the people that you meet inside of Courage Driven Latina get to meet you for who you really are and who you really want to become, because we're all working towards the different path instead of like what we should do. We're actually, a big part of the program is identifying what do you want to do, right? So and for context, right, it's been almost 2 years since you've been in the program. So tell us, what did you work on while you were in the program? I don't think we called it a courage project at the time. We didn't have that language for it, but you worked on a few different things. So what was your courage project?
Yeah, I think my courage project was showing up more on social media because I had started the business with my brother about money coaching, and I was really scared to show up on social media. And I think that was what I was working on, and also like giving more like workshops and stuff, and also charging people.
Oh, I remember this
that was really
conversation.
scary. I was like, I don't know if I want to charge people. I think I should give this information for free. But yeah, that was some of the things that I was working on. It was basically like for content creation. But yeah, I think now I show up on social media. I don't really get that shy anymore. I even have a podcast.
You have a podcast. What's the name of the podcast so people can follow?
The podcast is called Money Noticias Podcast.
Amazing. So before we started, we'll put the link to the podcast down below in the show notes. But before we started recording, I was showing Sunem the updated curriculum for Courage Driven Latina, as well as the Courage Project paths. So if you're not familiar, inside of Courage Driven Latina, we work on something called a Courage Project, which is something that has to scare you, it has to excite you, and it has to make the world a better place. So those are the 3 regulations, the 3 rules for the Courage Project. And then we now have implemented different paths. So people can work on a confidence path. People can work on a content creation path. People can work on a career path, and then on a Chingona CEO path. And as I look at Sunem's journey, you were in the program for 3 months. The program's now 12 months. You were in it for 3 months. And as I look at your journey, you pretty much executed all of the paths. You worked on your confidence. You worked on changing your thoughts about your job. You worked on showing up on social media, and then ultimately becoming a CEO of your side hustle. And then you also, because you like use the courage cycle, which is gain clarity, make a decision, take brave action, reflect and revise, you gained so much clarity on what it is that you want to do now. So when we were talking earlier, you mentioned you thought that the money coaching was going to be your full-time thing. But now what is it that you want? Like, what changed?
Yeah, so I really wanted my money coaching to be my full-time job because I thought that I hated my job. But then like it turned out I don't. And now I just really like it's a side hustle because I get to be creative here and like help people, which I really love. But I also get to like have my job, which gives me so much flexibility, and it's going to let me retire at 45.
Amazing.
And like I said in the beginning, I'm living my soft girl era, meaning that I am like resting more, doing things that I really love right now. And that means like saying no to a lot of the hustle things, because I did hustle a lot in 2019, and I did hustle to build my wealth. And I'm not going to say that like if you grow up in poverty, like sometimes that has to happen because, you know, we don't come from generational wealth.
Right.
But once you have built wealth, like you can ask yourself, like, what are things that I would not want to do anymore? And so that's what I'm asking myself now. And yeah, I really love my job and my life right now.
How beautiful to be able to say, I love my life right now. Because at the beginning of the episode, you said you realized that you didn't like your life. And we are in control of our life, right? Mm-hmm. So like we can change it to a place where that we appreciate and enjoy. So tell us a little bit about what were some of the like results that you got from being in the program? Like, how did you go from like, oh man, I'm not sure if I have the money for this to investing in it? And then what came from it?
Yeah, so I feel like I really got a lot of confidence from joining the program because we really worked a lot on mindset, which was my biggest concern, in my opinion. And like Erica was really great at coaching us. And so I realized, so for a long time, I thought being confident meant that you show up and you're not nervous or scared. But then in the program, I realized that confidence just means that you do things even though you're scared. Like you're
Exactly.
scared to do it, but that does not stop you from doing it. And like confidence is like a muscle. Like the more you do it, the better you get. And so that's what I've learned. And now, like, one of my, I know in the program we talked about affirmations, and one of the affirmations that I always have, and every time I'm going to do something that scares me so much, I put it, it's like I trust myself and I lead my life with courage. And so for me, that has been really life changing because I didn't think I would be like on this podcast. I didn't think I would be doing my own podcast. I didn't even think I would be able to talk to reporters because we were also like on Business Insider,
Yes, you were.
Entrepreneur, Motley Fool, which is a big personal finance industry media. And I didn't think I was going to say yes to those because I was so scared and really like nervous about talking. But then because of the program, I realized that I can trust myself. Like I have everything that I need to be successful.
You do. And you're doing it.
Yes.
So tell us, I want to talk to you about ROI. Obviously, we're investing in the stock market gives you an ROI. There's, what is that called when it keeps?
Compound interest?
Yes, compound interest. Thank you. And obviously those people who invest or are familiar with the stock market or just finance in general are aware of like how the sooner you do something, the better it is, including investing. But I want to talk about investing in yourself and how sometimes we can delay it. And we could, like, whenever you were having the money mindset stuff, maybe you had the thought, oh, I'm going to wait till next time, or I'm going to wait until next time. So my question for you is, what advice do you have for people who want to invest in themselves and maybe they just keep delaying it with the context of compound interest?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you should definitely do it. If you're already thinking about it, that means that there's something in your mind that's really wanting you to do it. Maybe the universe talking to you. You should listen to it because like it really does pay off. Like it pays off dividends if we're going to with
No, I
that
love it. Yeah, use
investment
all the
term.
terminology. Yeah.
It really does because like I know a lot of us were like, oh, I'm just gonna wait another year until I have enough money or all of this. But like the longer we wait, like the more harm we're doing to ourselves because not only are we still living with that mindset, but like you said, like we're not getting compound return on our investments and also, when you invest it in yourself, like you reach your goals faster than if you
Yeah.
do it on your own. Because I realized that, like, if I had tried to do all of this on myself by myself, would not be here right now. I would still be working on myself. And like, for example, like some of my clients who I'm teaching how to invest, like if they go on and do it by themselves, they're going to like have so much headaches because they're like, I don't understand this terminology, like I wish someone could like help me. But when they invest in themselves through me, like I'm able to teach them how to do everything in 90 minutes and they come out being an investor. And so the same thing with like your program, like if I had waited, yeah, it would have been horrible.
If you had waited, not only, the confidence and, the, like, you wouldn't have led into courage, but maybe stayed in your comfort zone a little longer. But think about all the people's lives that you wouldn't have changed by being in the program, right? That's why the Courage Project it has to scare you, it has to excite you, and it has to make the world a better place. And even if you're just working on yourself, I feel like that's making the world a better place. But specifically for you, that you were a money coach and you had your side hustle, the longer you waited, the people that you were serving weren't going to get you because you weren't offering your services, right? And you weren't, and I remember the money conversation. And whenever I followed up with you, I was like, oh my gosh, you raised your prices, right? And you were like, oh, that's our old rate. We raised them twice already. I don't even want to know what the rate is now. No, I'm just kidding. No, but really, like, when people pay money, they pay attention, right? And we are literally the best investment. So I feel like I went in a circle there. Point is that if you wouldn't have taken action to do the thing that was scaring you, you wouldn't have been able to support and serve the people who you're serving now.
Yeah, that is so true. And so, like, if you're waiting for it to invest in yourself, I say go ahead. Like I said, like, I had so much drama. I wish I can go back and tell myself, like, it's okay, just do it. I promise you that investing in yourself is always 100% positive because it really does pay off in the long term, and it really does return a lot because, like, now, even like I'm not in your program, like I still use the courage framework, and I'm like, okay, this is scaring me, but I'm still going to do it because I'm doing something courageous with myself.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for sharing that. I also want to just like be a little vulnerable where sometimes we want things to be perfect, but I think this conversation is evidence that even if it's not perfect, people can still get results from working with you, right? And it's whether you run a business or not, just in general. Sometimes we want to wait until we're ready or we want to wait for things to be perfect. But when Sunem was in the program, it was a 3-month program. There was like hardly any videos. There was no courage project plan. There wasn't like the courage cycle. I mean, now there's so many tools to support people, and the program's 4 times longer. And you were in it when it was like, I mean, I was just showing you the concept that we have inside of Courage Driven Latina of the ghetto first draft. And I feel like you were in the ghetto first draft of Courage Driven Latina, and you still like got so many results from it, right? So like we stop ourselves because we want things to be perfect when nothing is ever perfect, right? Perfection is an unattainable. Perfection is an opinion. It's unattainable because it's
Mm-hmm.
not real.
Yeah, that is so true. Yeah, we want to be perfect on everything. I remember I also wanted to be perfect. And I was like, I can't show up until I'm 100% confident. But, like, we talked about like confidence is just doing it again and again.
Exactly. And you don't get confident until you're doing it, right? So it's
Yes.
like a chicken and egg thing. Like you want to wait until you're confident to do it, but like you get confident through doing it.
Yes. Yes, for sure.
Yes. So what advice do you have for our community just in general with like you're this thought leader in the money space, and I'm just curious what message do you have for people like us who are first gen, who are the people who are changing their money mindset, the people who are learning to invest and maybe feel super inadequate whenever we open those books that aren't written for us. What message do you have for them?
Yeah, I would say become part of a community. And it doesn't have to be like joining a program. Like, I mean, I would say go for it. But if you don't want to, you can join a community like on social media, like listening to podcasts. But I feel like joining a community really expands your mindset because you're like, oh, I see people doing things that I want to do, but I never had that modeled for myself. And
Yes.
so, like, the more you're in community, like, the more you have the courage to pursue things that you didn't think. And so, like, the more, like, also, like, we're big believers in, like, building wealth as a community because what's the
Mhm.
point of being wealthy? But having your community not be wealthy with you, I feel like that would be boring. Because, like, if I want to go travel somewhere and like my family can't travel or my friends can't travel with me, I'm gonna be out there solita. I mean, actually, I do like traveling
You
solita
do like
también,
traveling, yeah.
but once in a while.
Yes.
Like for example, recently, like me and my siblings, we went to Cancun to an all-inclusive resort, and it was really amazing because all of us were able to do that,
Yeah.
and so we didn't feel bad that like, oh, one of our siblings can't afford it.
Right.
And so it's really nice. So I would suggest to like definitely build a community because it's really powerful. And like I said, the more people you have surrounding you, the more ideas you can see, the more like you're going to learn from them.
Yeah. And I think sometimes we look for the people around us for validation, but when they don't understand where we're going, they can't validate us, right?
Hmm.
So that's why I think communities like Courage Driven Latina or like your podcast or like so many others out there, it's important because nobody in Courage Driven Latina thought you were crazy for wanting to be a money coach, right? Like everybody believed in you so much.
Yeah, and it's funny because they believe in us like more than we believe in ourselves. Because I remember when I was talking to some people that I became friends with, they're like, "Oh, we believe in you." I was like, "Well, I don't know if I believe in myself," but like them like cheering you on, like celebrating your wins,
Yeah.
like is really powerful. Which actually leads me another thing would be like celebrate your wins. Like I was so not into celebrating my wins at all. Like I would be like, "Okay, I did this, check, move on to the next thing," because like our parents didn't teach us that. They're like, "Okay, you
Yes.
got A's." okay, well, you have to get A's again.
Yeah.
And so like it wasn't until I was into a community where people started celebrating me, and I was like, this feels a little weird, but I should do that. And so I started to celebrate myself every time I achieve like a financial milestone or like a milestone in my business or something like that, or in life, like I
Yeah.
celebrate myself. And so that has been really amazing and powerful.
Yes. Oh man, I love that so much. This is why inside of the Courage Project plan, which now we have a little guide for folks inside the program, the last section is when my project is done, here's how I will celebrate, because it's so important to celebrate. Yeah, you're right. And I think we just come from a culture where it's all so hustle and it's like, oh, get to the next thing, right? And we're just moving on to the next thing without taking time to appreciate how far we've come. And then that's why we feel unfulfilled as well. But when you get in the habit of celebrating your wins, you find more things to celebrate. And we know that just gratitude in general helps with our mood. And whenever our mood is more positive, our actions are more intentional. And then our results that we create are what we want to create. So somebody who applied to Courage Driven Latina said, I'm struggling with who I am, where I am in my life, and if I have anything to offer. Did you feel this way whenever you
Yes.
were starting?
Yes, I did. I definitely felt that way. I was like, I don't know if my life is interesting enough. I don't know if what I know is going to help people, but it does. Like sharing your story is so important because like
So
people
important.
are going to resonate with you. You're like, "Oh, I went through that too." Like I really resonate with that person. And like I feel like the more I share my story, the more people have come to me and be like, "Oh, I really resonate with that." Even like me sharing that I grew up in like I was born in LA but then moved to Tijuana and then to Nashville. They're like, "Oh, I was from I moved to Tijuana too. Like I can resonate with you."
Yeah.
Like even little stuff like that, it's people will resonate with your story.
Yeah. Yeah. And then now do you believe that you have something to offer?
Yes, I definitely do believe that I have something to offer. But yeah, it really takes a mindset shift. The longer you work on it, like the easier it is to believe it. I'm not gonna lie and say like there's still some moments in life that I'm like, am I good enough? But then I'm like, no, I am.
Hmm.
But it has really helped that I continue to do the work and I continue to ask myself like, hey, what is this what I want to do? Why do I want to do it? Do I just want to do it so people can see me? Or do I want to do it because that's something that I want to do?
That right there is key. The why behind making a decision matters almost more than the decision that you're making. So, a good question to ask yourself is, do you like your reasons for making that
Mm.
decision? Right. And that what you just asked, is it because I think I should do or what others want from me, or is it what I actually want? And it sounds so, like, obvious, but you'd be surprised how many times we make decisions based on other people, not even what we
Yes.
want.
Yes, that is true. Do not live your life on what other people want because they're never going to be happy and you're never going to be happy either.
Exactly. Yes. And you mentioned earlier, like our parents were so in survival mode. And I think just culturally, we're used to doing what, is going to be good for the community. But they sacrifice so much for us to live the life that we want to live. Like you were talking about this earlier. And this is exactly that point as well, where we have to make the decisions that are beneficial for us, because that is what our parents struggled for. They didn't struggle for us to keep struggling.
Yeah, no, they didn't. And so that's why I always say, like, living your best life is the way that you honor your parents and your ancestors.
Love that. Amazing. This has been so much fun. Where can people find you and how can people work with you?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at Money Noticias Podcast. You can find our podcast in anywhere you listen to podcasts. It's Money Noticias Podcast. And if you want to work with us, we do offer a coaching. We offer like an investing clarity session where after 90 minutes you leave being an investor feeling confident that you're going to be making wealth. And we also offer a different coaching where it's like 3 months where you work with us to get your money right.
Amazing. So we will link all of that down below. We'll link the podcast as well as their website, as well as their services. And if you took anything away from this podcast, please be sure to take a screenshot and tag the both of us, because we want to know. We want to know what stood out to you. I know we talked about so many different themes that a lot of people out there are also struggling with. They were like, I needed to hear this conversation. So I'm glad we made this happen. And Do not forget to leave a rate and review, an Apple rate and review, because that is how podcasts grow. So please be sure to do that. Or if you're listening on Spotify, be sure to give us a rate. I don't think you can review on Spotify, but you can rate it. So be sure to do that. I will see you all next week. And just a reminder that Courage Driven Latina is opening the doors on February 12th and closing on February 23rd. All right, y'all. I will see you next week. Thank you so much for joining me this week. Make sure to visit theericacruz.com, that's Erica with a K, where you can subscribe to the show so you'll never miss an episode. You can help this podcast grow by supporting me with an Apple Podcast rate and review. If you took anything away from this episode, I invite you to take a screenshot and share it on social media so that your favorite badass Latinas can also check it out. Be sure to tag me at the Erica Cruz, that's Erica with a K, because you know I want to see it. If you're ready to join the revolution and be a part of the Courage Driven Latina community, visit couragedrivenlatina.com to get more information and join the waitlist. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week.